welcome. It's really wonderful to have you all here today. I'm actually not used to webinars. I really love seeing people's faces. So please continue to chat with us in the chat box. It makes me feel really connected to you guys. But as Alex has beautifully introduced me, my name is Renee. My last name is Claire, and I'm a productivity consultant for wellness entrepreneurs. And my mission in life is really to help entrepreneurs lighten their workloads so that they can have more time and energy to enlighten others. So I'm really grateful to have transitioned to this career. And a little bit more about my background. I do have this fancy degree in industrial and organizational psychology. And what that means is I have this background in studying human behavior and organizational behavior. I love balancing my left and right brain. So although I am creative in certain aspects, I tend to be creative in this very structured way. I have done everything underneath the sun that you can possibly imagine as far as like the workforce goes. I've worked in human resources. I've done recruiting and training and hiring. I've worked in marketing. I've sent mass emails for a really beautiful company that's a wellness company. So I would send campaigns to like 300K people at a time, which is really scary sounding when I say it, but it was much more fun than that. I've done sales before. I've worked in inside sales, selling engineering, like little chips, things that go inside appliances. And I've even done some finance stuff where I would manage timesheets for teens that I put into a summer paid internship type program. So I'm really grateful that I have this unique background so I can really understand and kind of figure out what works for each entrepreneur. So today I'm really excited to dive into my new 5 time management tips, which are really areas that I really love. So let's dive in, shall we? All right. So my first tip so these 5 areas are things that I noticed that entrepreneurs aren't focusing on in order to have this foundation for their business to really thrive, for them to feel really confident in what they're doing. The first area that you will hear me always talking about, because it seems to be kind of the cornerstone of my business, is time management. And so I think someone mentioned like focusing on tasks and work-life integration. And this is where time management comes into play, right? I often hear my friends and other wellness entrepreneurs say, I don't have any time, or I need to make time for that, or I don't know where the time goes. And raise your hand if you're like me, if you're just losing track of the days during COVID. Okay, oh my gosh, this is great. Yes, I totally feel you. Me too. I sometimes forget what day it is. So today is Tuesday, everybody, if you need a reminder. So underneath my time management area focus, there are actually tons of techniques that you can do, but the 3 things that I am going to share with you work really well for my clients and other wellness entrepreneurs that I've worked with in workshops. So the first one is using a paper planner. How many of you use a paper planner? Tell me in the chat box. And if you don't use a paper planner, do you use an electronic one, or maybe you don't have a planner at all? Let me know. I've met many a wellness entrepreneur that do not have planners, and that's okay. Okay, Teresa's got a paper planner. Nora, oh my gosh, I love this. Okay, Rachel used to, but she's fallen off. That's okay. I've done it too. And life is like yoga, like our practices kind of like ebb and flow over time. Electronic and paper, awesome. Paper planner, okay. I feel like I'm speaking to the choir a little bit. So a paper planner is really an amazing way. I have described it as a true mind-body connection, right? And I feel like most of us on the line can really relate to that, especially as we're in the wellness industry. And I think quite a few of you might be meditation and yoga teachers as well. So the minute that I started putting pen to paper was when I started realizing what was going on in my life, right? And I didn't do pen to paper just for my work life. I did it for my whole entire life. I was going through a really hard time, and in order to cover up the difficult thing that I was going through, I was doing way too much. I was double booking. I was letting friends and coworkers down because I wasn't aware of what was going on in my schedule. So I started doing paper planning and I started realizing, well, how much time am I spending for, myself to get up? I think I would give myself 15 minutes to get up and out of bed and to work. Never mind like eating. I don't think I was eating at this time. And then my work day would be really long. I think I was doing like 2 jobs for the price of one at that time. Not to mention teaching yoga, about 5 classes a week, and then trying to socialize. So I was a little bit of a hot mess at that time, but writing it down slowly now over the past like 3 or 4 years, I've been able to really iron out everything and really explore and understand how I'm spending my time. So I highly recommend a paper planner. I have a really cool list for you guys of the 5 ones. I personally love a bullet journal, but I have 4 other planners that I can recommend that have been recommended to me from other yoga teachers and ones I've personally used. And I'll give you the link in just a second. All right, so paper planner, right? The second one is to use a timer. Does anybody time themselves for like certain tasks or set a timer to take a break? Let me know in the chat box. And this method is actually called the Pomodoro method, or I'd like to say it in Spanish, the Pomodoro method, right? Pomodoro apparently is Italian for a tomato. Cat uses a square timer, and not a tomato timer. But the Pomodoro is like based off this little timer that looks like a tomato. I've seen an egg timer, right? You can set one of those. I just use my phone. Sometimes I set breaks. Oh, Eddie's here. Hey, Eddie. Sometimes I set a time for breaks. I guess I should probably. I think sometimes setting like yourself up for breaks is a good idea, but I've often noticed it can be difficult to do that, to follow through. And when I tried that myself, I would just kind of work through my breaks. Has anybody done that before? I feel like you probably have. Just like work through your lunch break or through your breaks, But sometimes, so here's my tidbit: to use a timer just for the tasks that you feel weigh you down, that seem to be really energy draining, not for your whole day, right? The Pomodoro method like suggests taking a break every 25 minutes, I think. And I found data that shows that after 50 minutes of focused attention on a task or multiple tasks, that you get super drained, right? After that, like you really should have a break after 50 minutes. But I know I have a lot of creatives on the line, and probably doing that might feel overwhelming. So I recommend just setting a timer for those tasks that feel really draining, and not in an effort so that you'll finish it, but so that you can take a short break and then regroup, let your mind rest. Your mind loves change. It does really well when it can shift directions, and it'll come back and you'll find that you're more productive. Okay. So that's my little tidbit for a timer, believe it or not. Gabby says she's never used a timer, but she's starting to see that that I just go until, oh yes, that she goes until she's too tired. So yes, I'm curious, Gabby, if you can find the pattern of like the specific tasks that seem to be really draining for you. 5-0, Nora. So it's 5-0 of this focused attention. And then after that, it's like we're no longer productive. We're not producing what we hope to produce. Maybe we start getting frustrated with ourselves. And at that moment, we're not practicing ahimsa, right? Because that's when that's negative self-talk and bad thoughts. We don't have any bad thoughts, right? But that negative self-talk and those false beliefs come into play. Because I know a lot of people are like, oh, I can't do this. Well, you can. Your brain just gets tired, which I think it's important for us to hold space around our brain. So that is my timer tip. And then the next one is a really cool way that I've really honed in on to help people not only organize their workday, but organize their whole life. So really examining all of the time and how they're spending it, and allocate which is called a time block. So a time block is any time that you assign a little chunk of time to certain tasks or tasks. And time blocking is amazing. I've been doing it for a couple of years now, and I've seen my business and my self-care just go in leaps and bounds, grow in leaps and bounds. So I am going to share a link to my free resources page, which will have access to not only these like cool podcasts that I'm on, but also to my 5 paper planners that I recommend, as well as my time blocking technique. I have like a worksheet in there, and I'll break down like what time blocking is and how to use it. I actually found out, somebody had asked me who created the time blocking method, and we actually don't know who created it, but the first person who talked about it was Benjamin Franklin, right? The guy who came up with electricity. So if he can do it and he's highly intelligent, so can you. Let's see. Gabby said Facebook depletes her. I'm right there. I'm an Instagram girl. And Shannon says learning time. Oh, I taught Shannon how to time block. She's one of my mentors, and she said she learned time blocking from me, and it's helped her so much. So I highly recommend it. And this is something that I coach my clients one-on-one with all the time. So that's something that you need, holler at me. Okay, so time management is our first area to focus on. And to me, I feel like it's the one that's most within reach, right? It's the place that we want to exercise a little bit of structure around, but not too much, because I know you guys are creative and have so much to offer. So these are 3 things that I think that will really help you to see what's really going on with your time, where you're spending it, and then really take things off your plate, or maybe restructure in a way so that you can feel energetically rejuvenated. Okay, so the second area is automation. This is one of my favorite areas, you guys, and I often see people not automating things. I had a false perception, a false belief that to automate things meant it's going to be really complicated and then it was going to cost a lot of money, right? Well, I personally use software that automates things for me for free because, girls got a budget. And then I've really found that it saves me a lot of time, especially when I do something called batching. And batching means like batching cookies, right? You have a batch of cookies, you're making more than one cookie. So you're doing the same task, but there's more of them. So things that I am always encouraging my clients to work on is, number 1, automating your social media posts. One of the things I wanted to do was have a poll here, because I was curious if people here prefer Facebook over Instagram or Instagram over Facebook. So I'd love for you to tell me in the chat where your happy place is. Or maybe you have a different happy place. Maybe it's like LinkedIn, or TikTok is the cool new one, right? For me, I already told you I'm an Instagram chick. That's where you can find me. I'll put in my handle if you want to find me there. And I love talking and hanging out. It's so much fun. I have actually taught myself to like Instagram. If I could not be on social media, I would not probably. Robin likes Instagram more, but find the majority of her niche is on Facebook. Yes, I hear that often, Robin. You're not alone there. And it's really interesting because sometimes you can go where you like and then your niche is on there, or you have to go where your niche is. So I understand that balance, and that can be tough. Maria she likes Instagram, but she doesn't know how to use it well. I have a couple clients where I'm guiding them and teaching them the processes to use Instagram right now. It took me a year, you guys, to learn it. So, give yourself some self-compassion. Okay, so I have 2 software that I recommend that have really good free accounts, and they have really good videos so that you can train yourself. And the first one is Hootsuite. Ooh, Gina's not on social media. Rock on. So Hootsuite is the first one, and then Tailwind is the second one. These are the ones that I personally learned that I found were very easy for me to do, had videos, and automated my posts in a really fun way. They're a little bit different. Hootsuite, you can automate like things to more places like LinkedIn and that kind of thing. And Tailwind is Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest. Tailwind has more stuff that you can do with like hashtags, but Hootsuite is just a really nice organized platform. Gabby says it is wise to integrate Facebook and is it wise to integrate Facebook and Instagram for business purposes? Oh, that's a good question, Gabby. I've heard there's two different thoughts. Some people say keep your posts different between Instagram and Facebook, but I am the productivity queen and I don't believe in that. I believe in having the same content across your platforms. That way you can post for both, save yourself a lot of time and a lot of duress. Maybe it might be something cool I might look into, when I have a team later on down the road, right? But I think for streamlining things, especially if you are just coming here to the online yoga world from 2020, I really think it's a great idea for just sanity and streamlining and regrouping to have the two together. I hope that makes sense, everybody. That's a really good question, Gabby. Thanks for asking. Okay, so automation, we talked about social media. I bet quite a few of you are automating, but I know that there's some of you who probably are like, oh, I'm not ready yet. Well, I encourage you to go for it, okay? Give yourself a learning curve and then you'll find your way, I promise. The next one are automating your newsletters. Dun, dun, dun. I keep thinking like, oh, people have their newsletters automated, but they don't. I often get the question of how many emails should, I batch, and that's at like creating at one time. And I think the magic number is around like a month's worth or like 4 weeks worth. So automating your newsletters is just amazing. You can kind of know what's happening ahead of time. Shannon actually taught me to just use one call to action. That's a freebie. It really helps people to stay clear and helps you to stay clear on what you're suggesting people do from your newsletter. And I use Flowdesk. I really love Flowdesk. I'll type the name in here. And then did you know that Offering Tree can automate your newsletters? Tell me, raise your hand if you knew that you can automate newsletters from Offering Tree. I love this raise hand feature. Do I have to do anything? Do I have to turn it off? Okay, there we go. Yay! Okay. If you didn't know that you can automate your newsletters from Offering Tree, that's totally okay. I believe Alex has this nifty video that will teach you how to do it on the platform, which is really, really cool. So those are my two favorite platforms. Another one is MailChimp, if that's something that you want to entertain. Flowdesk is one that you do have to pay a little bit for, but it's really beautiful. Oh my gosh, Jill says Offering Tree automation is saving her life. Emails and Zoom links and class reminders. Yes, girl. And Alex says that it's their fault if you don't know that about Offering Tree. But sometimes things I don't get tossed to the wayside. So reminders are, oh yes, reminders are always good. Which brings me to my third thing. So newsletters are a marketing task, right? It's something that keeps nurturing your environment. Oh, they're doing the leaves right outside my window, so I apologize about that. The next thing are your sales activities. Anytime that you're making money, really try to automate it. I know that people get held back because there can be certain fees associated with the platform that you use or from the companies that help you to retrieve payments like Stripe or Square. But in the long run, it's a little bit compared to you using all this time to create a spreadsheet of all the attendees and gathering email addresses and that kind of thing. I was working with somebody and she had an event that people paid for. And it was, I think she had about 80 people go to her really beautiful Reiki and meditation workshop. And everything was done out of pocket. So they were sending her money through Zelle or PayPal. And she had to manually make a list and collect people's email addresses. So I can just imagine there's a lot of error within that. And it's really time consuming to make sure, oh, did this person, provide me with financial energy exchange, right? So anytime that people are going to schedule one-to-ones with you, really make sure that that's automated, and the online store. I have switched my online store, seriously, from Teachable to Offering Tree recently, and it was so much easier to do. Teachable took me a really long time to set up and figure out like how to do all the stuff in the background. And as a productivity consultant, I'm always looking for things that will be really simple that I can just do instead of forget it. So Offering Tree's online store is really cool, you guys. I actually have my Time Management 101 course on there. It's $25 and I have like a guide and things, and it just takes you through everything really nicely. So I highly recommend that if you're thinking about doing a membership with your online videos, or like doing a little online workshop like me and having it so that you can get that passive income. At first, I kid you not, I put my workshop on my website and I was telling people to pay me through PayPal, and it was getting really overwhelming for me. So the automation 3 things are social media, your newsletters, which is marketing, and any sales tasks. So anytime that you need to exchange money, and know that the money for those fees are going to a good cause, because it's saving you a lot of time versus like hiring somebody else. I did the math one day. So that is automation. Go Offering Tree for this is my Offering Tree and I get along so well. All right, the third thing that I really encourage people to do in order to value their time more and themselves is boundary setting. Boundary setting. How many of you have heard of boundaries? And do you know what a boundary is? I would love for you to tell me like your personal definition. There's no right or wrong here, but in the chat, tell me your definition of a boundary. Boundaries are really huge for me. I can't remember if I said it in the intro, but I actually pursued a degree to be an LMFT. I went to school for counseling. It's something that I wanted to do initially, and then I realized I couldn't help people with their success if I couldn't measure the numbers. So I switched and I got my MA. So a boundary is anytime. Oh, I love this. Okay, thank you, Nora. Nora says it's knowing when to say yes or no and what is within your scope. And scope is such like a cool business oriented word. Scope means, the breadth of like energy and space that you have to devote for something, if that makes sense. And I really love that. A boundary is knowing where you start and end and I start and end, right? And there's a lot, as caretakers, as wellness entrepreneurs, we've probably grown up and was met with some difficulty, maybe some trauma, and our lives have been really focused and dedicated to taking care of others, where our needs sometimes don't get met, and we are not taken care of because we're taking care of others, so that in turn our needs will get met. But along the way, as we've gotten older, that has infringed upon our boundaries, and the same method that was working for us when we were younger doesn't quite work for us now, especially as entrepreneurs, right? So our personal lives, we are the same. It's our personal life and it's integrated with our work life because we're a wellness entrepreneur, and it's all together, right? So what I've noticed is there's a lot going on with boundaries, in that we're not honoring our time. We're, especially after 2020, we're in this fight, flight, or even freeze mode, where we're really allocating a lot of our time and space to others, and we're not giving back to ourselves because we're worried about making enough money, because we're worried about survival, because we're worried about money and making it paycheck to paycheck. And I've been there. Trust me, I've been there. Andra says it's respect of time. Mine and the other person's, what areas I want to get involved in and what other areas I need to refer to a specialist or another instructor. Oh my gosh. Yes. I hope that you all have this beautiful network of people that you can refer someone to when you know that it's not in your wheelhouse. There's a lot of us who will try to be everything, to a person, but we can only do so much. And Andra, that's like a really awesome one. Thank you for sharing that. So as far as boundary setting goes, this is using the time blocking method that I teach my clients, which now you have a link to, so you can sign up for that method too. You start to really understand and value your time more, right? And so with the structure of time blocking, when you know what you're doing and when, like I often ask my clients, when would you like to work with clients? And they're like, well, I'm just trying to make money. So my whole schedule. And I was like, well, does that feel right to you? Do you feel like you have enough energy during that part of the day? Do you feel like you can focus, and how do you feel for the rest of your day? Are you practicing self-care? And, I've often found that goes to the wayside because they're trying to accommodate people. When you create your ideal structure as best as you can within the time blocking structure, you can start to really honor your time and gently use your schedule to say no, like Andra, right? Like if she wants to honor her time, and let's say that she only sees clients during the week after 1, and if someone says, oh, I can you meet with me on Tuesday at 7 a.m., and she said, well, actually, like I don't have availability at that time, but how about we look in the afternoon? Do you have anything in the afternoon after 1 o'clock? So I found that the time blocking schedule is used as this beautiful way to have this like very like almost like scripted way so that you can say no and not feel upset at yourself or guilty, right? That you feel like this more sense of like calm and confidence with knowing your schedule, knowing when you can show up at your best to support your beautiful clients, right? So I just love that. I love seeing, my clients shift and really like value their time. It's so cool. The other thing with boundary setting is if you have a difficult time, like saying no or no in a different way, I really encourage you guys to practice with someone. And I know that sounds like probably crazy. In the business world, we call this role playing, right? But it's so important to practice it because it's a skill that we didn't have when we grew up. We didn't learn the skill. So if we have someone safe that we can practice with, it will start to strengthen that muscle, if you will. It sounds so funny when I say it like that. But if we can do that, we can really hone in and strengthen that, and we get better and better and better over time. So start off with your time blocking schedule, practice how you would, say no, or how you would say, can we reschedule this? And then the other thing with boundary setting is when a lot of the time and personally, this is me too, when I would go to a productivity training, I'm like, yeah, how do I be more productive in work? But I'm very different because I start off time blocking and I say, okay, let's look at your self-care first. When's your morning routine? When's your wind down routine? When do you take lunch? When do you take breaks? And it tends to really throw people off because they're like, wait a minute, I thought I came to you for work. And I'm like, well, you did, and we're going to get there. But if you don't show up for number one first, how can you set that example for others, right? So as a yoga teacher, teaching my 5 classes, working a full-time job, teaching, yoga on the weekends and stuff, I wasn't practicing yoga for me. I wasn't eating. And when I would eat, I was eating like, junk food, right? So I didn't feel in alignment with my higher purpose. And so when I find that people reshift their thinking around their time and reshifting what boundaries actually means, that they start to feel more aligned, that they have more time, and that they feel just really connected to what they're doing. So I know, okay, that got really deep. So that's boundary setting. So we went over time management, automation, boundary setting. And so now let's head into my 4th area. This one is a little meaty. It's a little on the business side, but it's project management. Project management is when you are implementing a big project, right? It's a collection of tasks that has a start and end date. When I work with people, I often hear them say, I decided that I wanted to start my online store, right? Like I actually have a client, he's starting an online store. And I'm like, okay, so, you have all this stuff going on. You have like 2 jobs and you're teaching yoga and you're a massage therapist. And so, where do you have time for that? I don't know. I'm just going to figure it out because I'm really excited. I'm like, okay. And then, a few months will go by And I'm like, okay, how's the online store going for you? Well, it's still there, but I'm not sure about it now. So there's a lot that gets lost in that translation when we take on a new task before we've seen where we can carve out time for it. Because we can't make time. We're not God, goddess, or universe, right? But we can look and move energy around within our time blocking schedule so that we can carve out time for this. I would love to know right now, what are your projects that you're working on? What are you excited about doing right now? Is it an online store? Are you creating a membership? Are you creating a workshop? Are you, personally for me, my big project this quarter is I'm creating a YouTube channel. So I'm creating like a content calendar and different things like that. Okay, Franny's got a website. What else are you guys working on? I'm excited to cheer you on personally. Cammie's got a workshop. What kind of workshop, Cammie? Tell us. And I think Franny's going to do her website through Offering Tree. Shout out. Andra's creating a workshop on the pelvic floor. Yay! Jill is on-demand yoga nidra, recordings via the Offering Tree store. Gabby's creating an 8-week chair yoga series. Yay, chair yoga. I love that. Online courses for photography and stress management. Oh my gosh, Nora, that's incredible. Freddie confirmed it's through Offering Tree. Gina's starting her YouTube channel too. Ooh, I should get together with you, Gina, because it's a journey for this YouTube channel thing. Cami said yoga plus ball rolling. Ooh, yoga tune-up balls for pain relief for rock climbers. Andra's working on doing SOAS workshop to offering the Offering Tree store. Ooh, that'll be through the Offering Tree. That's a lot of offers. Christina, off-grid camping. Oh, and yoga to be opening in March. Yay, congratulations. Okay, you guys, congratulations. These are really exciting. You can keep, sharing it feels so awesome to like raise our vibes with these beautiful projects and amazing things that you're doing. So I'm curious if you have this project that you're rolling out, if you've thought about project management. Oh, Maria's building a house and a home yoga studio. Congratulations, Maria. Okay, so for project management, I see a lot of things that are missed. Maybe some people will do a little bit of project management, and I say project management, which seems like a very businessy and sort of strict term, but it's not that. It can be so much more manageable. The first thing that I recommend people really do is to set up SMART goals, and I think I encourage people to do projects by quarters, so that way you're giving yourself these beautiful 12 weeks. And I follow the 12-week year method. So usually what you can get done in 12 weeks is actually something that most people get done in a year, believe it or not. So you can get like 4 annual goals done in 1 year using this method. So starting off with your quarterly goal, make sure that it's a SMART one. And that's totally not like saying that there's like a dumb goal or anything like that. But SMART stands for specific, measurable. The A, I changed it up. Make sure that it's really aligned with your 2021 goal. The R is like, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the R. The R, realistic. Like saying, that you want to be the Queen of Sheba is not realistic, but nobody would have an unrealistic goal that I can imagine. And then the other one's timely. So actually setting a date. When you set quarterly goals, you actually can set the date for, March 31st if it's Q1, right? It's pretty cool. But you really want your Q1 goal to be like really specific, like, Gina's going to get her blog started. So for Gina, maybe her goal is to have her blog page on her website with 4 blogs automated by March 31st. So that is like a really clear, smart goal. Specific, measurable, aligned, realistic. And thank you, Alex. Thank you. So specific, measurable, aligned. And that one's, I think, is huge for us wellness entrepreneurs. Everything has to feel like it's aligned, especially with your 2021 goal or your word of the year. I've had people pursue goals that aren't in alignment, and they feel that stuck feeling, and then negative and false beliefs come up, but it's a product of not feeling aligned with yourself and the higher order goals that you have. Number two are the due dates and milestones. So setting milestones in between. Like in January, I want to be this far on my Q1 goal, like towards my like my off-grid camping, right? And by February, I want to be this far, and March, like up and running with my first client, that kind of thing. So I often see that people don't have milestones, and I really encourage you guys to do that for your projects. I hope that doesn't feel too overwhelming. And then the third one ties back in the time blocking. Create at least 2 time blocks to where you can work on your project every week. I encourage you to do at least 2 hours in one sitting. And the reason I say that is because 2 hours will allow for you to have interruptions, things come up, your kid comes in crying because they scraped their knee, or your dog needs to go potty. Like my dog is running around right now. I think she's hungry. But so it allows for those interruptions, and that's why it feels like a lot of time, but it's really not, because our time is really sucked by these little things, and they're like 10 minutes here and that, and so on and so forth. So when you give yourself a couple of time blocks per week, you can actually move towards and see your progress towards your goal. So I hope that one's like a win for everybody. As a bonus, you can keep track of all your tasks. I encourage people to write down all their tasks, all the tasks that are floating around in your brain, when you can't sleep and you're like, I need to do my online store with Offering Tree. But to write down all your tasks and then put them in a task management software. My favorite one is called ClickUp, which I will type here. And Eddie says he's becoming a goal nerd. Yay! OKRs, which are objectives and key results. Yes, I have. And he's reading a book on it called Measuring What Matters. I'm writing that down because I have not read that book yet. Measuring What Matters. When I worked, I'm part of a recruiting firm for hardware and software engineers. And so we work in sprints, and also within the 12-week year framework. And we also have OKRs where we set objectives and key results. So, it's like, okay, I want to accomplish this, and these are little things that I need to check off to make sure that this thing is done, which probably is a lot. So, so take a breath and just set that to the side. If that like went way over your head, you're not alone. Okay. So project management overall, just breathe, set a really clear goal, make sure it's totally aligned with your word of the year or your 2021 goal, have due dates and milestones, and give yourself time. That's why our projects don't get done, is because we kind of just feel like we're going to fit them into our really full lifestyles, and we have to be intentional with our time. So I'm excited for everybody to tell me soon how they like conquered their Q1 goal. All right, the fifth area to focus on, the fifth tip, is to hire help, but maybe not just yet. One question that I get is all the time is, I feel overwhelmed. I see people like having help. How do I know when it's time to hire help? Tell me in the chat box if you have an assistant right now that helps you in some way with marketing or checking your email or doing your website or whatever. Also tell me if you have ever thought about hiring help. If you're like me, it seems like way out of reach. And I know that it feels like that, but it's closer than you think, my friend, I promise. Oh, Alex says they use sprints and quarterly planning too. Yay! Gabby's just getting started. She's like, nope, hasn't thought about hiring. Nora, not at all yet. I really get it. Anybody else like have help, thought about hiring help, or is it like not, does it feel not within reach? I often have clients who've been in business for a little bit, and they come to me wondering about if they should hire help and they're feeling more like in a panic or a frenzy. Andrea, not at this time, can't afford it. Got it. Maria, have thought about it, but haven't yet. Okay. No help except graphics. Yay, graphic help. I am not a graphics person. Okay, I really get it. I think it's really cool to start thinking about your organization and how it can grow, even if you're not ready, even if it makes your heart like kind of palpitate a little bit. It's really nice to start thinking about yourself not as a solopreneur, but as an organization. It makes you a CEO in that way, and it has more of a kind of this confidence and stability that comes with it. Nora says that her friend is helping her with her logo design. Yay for good friends. Okay, so here, before you hire help, these are the things that I would really encourage you to get a good awareness around. So the first one is to get really clear on your tasks. Get really clear about how much time it's taking you to do certain tasks and make sure that you're grouping your tasks together. So that's really key. So like if you're spending like 5 hours on marketing and your business is growing, and you're really clear that it takes you 5 hours to do social media posts and website updates and that kind of thing, you could be like really clear and say, oh, okay, I need to hire a marketing person and these are the tasks that I need to be done. And I use these platforms, so I need a person who can do this. So that's key. And that's why I start with time management, because if you can understand how you're spending your time and on what you're spending it on, you can later on down the road hire help and be super clear about what it is you need help with. The second thing is to get really clear on your processes, right? Sometimes when I'm learning a new platform, I think, somebody says that they struggle when they're learning a new techie thing. I totally get it. Me too. I've had the gift of being allotted some time so I can learn these things. And once you start to learn one thing, you can learn the second thing more easily, and so on and so forth. So, but getting really clear on your processes. What do you need to have happen and when? And maybe even like writing it out. That's called a standard operating procedure. You'll hear people call it an SOP, but that means like you have this one piece of paper, a G doc. I guess we don't use paper anymore. Like you could probably tell how old I am now, but you have a G doc or a Word doc, and you say, okay, to post on Instagram. Number one, go to this table with my content. Number two, create a Canva graphic, and then you have these steps. When you have these processes outlined for yourself, it's much easier to teach and train somebody else. You can hand it to them, which is really cool. And then number three, which I can't remember who said this, but I think they said, can't afford it. Oh, there we go, Andra. So that's key there too. It's really big. I have a lot of people that will hire before their profit is ready, right? There's this book that I'm reading right now that's called Profit First, where you're really bringing in and you're understanding the money that you have, and you're setting certain things aside. And that way you can know how much you can afford to pay someone, which is really huge. Like deciding how much time you need someone to help you for and how much you can pay them. And beyond that, you really probably want someone to stick around. So you probably want to have these incremental pay rates and know that you can afford them and feel really good about it. Feel like you're like really encouraging them to be their best so that you can be your best, right? So those, I hope that, if you've kind of like tinkered with the idea of hiring someone, that this starts to help you. And again, the first step that I recommend is going back to my time blocking guide and just really getting clear about your time and when you're doing tasks and so on and so forth. So let me check. Ooh, okay. Yeah, I always check time as I'm doing these things to keep us on track. So my 5 areas to focus on are time management, automation, shout out to Offering Tree for being amazing and working with me, boundary setting, project management, and hiring help, but not until you're clear on your tasks, processes, and your profit for your business. Tell me all your questions. What questions came up for you, and what felt overwhelming? I would love to hear from you. And maybe what are you overwhelmed with right now? We've got about 10 minutes, and I'd love for you to take advantage of me and ask me some questions. And Alex, are you still there? How was that? How did that feel?
That was great. Yeah, thank you so much. Still here. Thank you so much. And yeah, let's questions, please put them in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. And thank you again, Renee, for just all the time and effort and just sharing your wisdom. Really appreciate it.
Yes, you're welcome. I didn't get to do my fun polls like Corey did. I wanted to ask if people liked asana or yoga more. Wait, asana or meditation. That was the poll I had planned. Is social media the best way to advertise? Ooh. That's a good one. I've asked Shannon that before too. It depends. I think social media is an ever evolving thing. I have seen people thrive in their businesses not from social media, and they don't even have a social media account. My business coach, this business thrives. Okay, she asked because it's not her thing. There's a method that I follow called the Book Yourself Solid method. There's a book, and it's all about networking. So if you like social media, you can be there, but that process is actually really dependent on relationship and going through referrals and building these really awesome interpersonal relationships and building your business that way. Eddie says networking. Yes. Okay, good. Louise is an asana person. I'm a meditation person more so than asana. Yes, Cami, I'd be book yourself solid. It starts, there's a lot of good niche work that comes in that. And then they have a 6-step process, which actually I'm implementing one of them, which is to write. And I'm going to be a guest article writer with Offering Tree, which I'm really honored about. So thank you, Alex and Eddie, for this opportunity. So book yourself solid. I just typed that in, and networking is where it's at. So if you can look at networking as the place, and then maybe your branch is through interpersonal relationships in person, or calls these days, or social media. I think that's a great way. And then you always want to try to funnel people to your newsletter, which Alex and Eddie could probably attest to. Let's see what else. Franny says she's mostly an asana person, but she's working on her meditation. I believe that yoga is a form of any kind of movement. So I'm kind of really hippie in that way. So I really like all kinds of movement, whether it's dance or hiking, but meditation, if I don't do 20 minutes of it every morning, I have this you can tell I get in this funk. What other questions do you have? I love this. This was a great question, Gabby. Ooh, Andrea teaches both asana and meditation, need both to stay balanced in her own life. Yay. I love that you're finding the balance. And it's a journey. It's you might find that you're doing more meditation and more asana. And I want to say it's Legia. Is that how you pronounce your name? Thank you very, very much for your compliment. I hope I said your name correctly. Casey, you're on here. Hi, Casey. Casey would love to implement ClickUp, but feels really overwhelmed with how to set it up. Do you have a good resource for that? I'm actually thinking of doing a workshop because I really love ClickUp, and I'm now an affiliate. So I might do training for that. So stay tuned, Casey. And I think they have some videos on their website too. But that's actually something I love training people with how to use these systems so that they can set up their processes. What's a good way to build up your mailing list, your newsletter list? I definitely suggest an opt-in, whether it's a video, whether it's a little one-page thing, whether it's this really cool email that you had before. Anything that you can say, here is something free that I have developed, and this really can help people. Like my time blocking guide is an opt-in, right? That way people can come and feel like they're getting something, and they're excited to hear from you every week or monthly, Legia, beautiful. Casey says hi. Nora says she just sat down the other day to time block each day, to time block work. Yes, start with your self-care. Definitely encourage you to do that. She wasn't getting anything done. She'd have ideas and vague plans, which were, you guys are such magnificent creators. I just want to hold space for you. And actually creating and sitting down and thinking, that is actually a task, you guys. So when you write down your tasks, write down, think about this offering, because that takes time. When you're in the shower and you're brainstorming, I have all these like epic ideas come to me. That's like actually work. But Nora says never really starting. I will check out your time blocking guide and begin using project management and other strategies. Oh, she was in corporate years ago, so she knows how to do that. Rock on. Yes, you're so welcome, Nora. I'm glad you're like pumped about it. Casey, okay, I have to write down the ClickUp workshop. Yes, thank you, Eddie. So gosh, there's so many like words that overlap. So Eddie chimed in and he wants everybody to know the opt-in is the same thing as a lead magnet, which is also the same thing as a lead generator. And you'll hear like landing page is the same thing as a lead page, which is the same thing as a form. And that's like the page that you take people to so that they put their email address in and get the opt-in or lead magnet or lead generator, not to confuse things. I think I need to create like a vocabulary sheet. Thank you, Eddie. You're welcome, Franny. I'm glad you're here. Franny's in Texas. And I think I mentioned I'm in San Antonio, everybody, but I'm partly a California girl. Eddie says way too many terms. Yes, marketing language. Yes, I'm writing down the term sheet. Loris has something for offering tree, Eddie and Alex. Ooh, I agree.
Yep, I can see that. I'm making notes too. I think we should probably do a better job of our own workshops on how to use Offering Tree, but you can do that in Offering Tree to create opt-ins. We built it in, so and then it'll send the automated email with whatever your opt-in is. So if you go to the communication section, click on it, you should see a section that says lead generator, and you can click on that, and it'll, yeah. But we will. I think we need to make a workshop ourselves. So I'm making a note.
Yay! All right. There's that. Thank you. Thank you, Doris, Sophia. I think that I can't wait for that workshop, you guys. Okay, I wrote down vocabulary sheet. I wrote down ClickUp workshop. Maria, you're totally welcome. Oh, Amanda's in here. Hey, Amanda. I'm glad you'll watch the recording later. And you're so welcome, Gabby. I'm really glad. I want everybody to feel lifted up because I know productivity can be kind of this daunting thing. And I hope that I made it fun for each of you and so that you can really go out and do your most amazing work for others. So if you would love like some one-on-one support, you can schedule a clarity call with me. I'd love to hear what you're working on and offer other ideas and tips with that will work just for you, because I don't think everything's a one-stop shop. And my website is there, right there. And then come find me on Instagram. Sometimes I talk about like how to do stuff on Instagram too. But Alex, we have 2 minutes left. Is there anything else we should do before we wrap up?
No, just to say thank you again for everyone for being here. And thank you, Renee, for sharing everything. Really appreciate it. It's wonderful to have you on today. And really hope that if you joined late, watch the replay. I'll also try to post a recap of all the various books and resources that Renee was sharing. I was trying to keeping my running list, so I'll try to post that on the replay page so you have it. Please check out Renee at her site and on Instagram and elsewhere. And again, just so happy to have you here today. Thank you so much, Renee.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful week.